What's going on, guys? Today I'm just gonna do a little simple video, nothing crazy too dramatic or anything, but I'm just gonna go through the steps of how I tie my jigs and my process of how I put the jigs together. And all right, I'm gonna go over a couple of things that I use when I tie jigs. I use my vise here. I'm not 100% sure of the name of it, but I will figure out the name for you guys and let you know. And I'll put a link below to how to get yourself one if you want to get one. I use a large bobbin, and a lot of my threads, I actually go to Joann Fabrics for a lot of my threads. Like, I mean, it's thread. It's not, you know, the fish don't care of the quality of the thread or anything like that. So with that being said, I don't do too much crazy shopping when I do it for when I go to buy my threads. But this is the brand of thread that I use. I know there's the wax nylon thread and, you know, some other style of nylon threads out there, but they're just a little overpriced in my opinion. I go to Joann's, you know, and I buy, you know, 15, 20 different colors at a time. So, you know, whenever you're spending $3 for one little roll or whatever it is, I'm not sure exactly what the price is, but when you match it up to Joann Fabrics place where it's a hobby store and they have that kind of stuff, a lot cheaper. But yeah, that's where I get my thread from. My flash, I order it off of a couple of different websites. Like I said, there's a bunch of different websites I order from. Mudhole, Do It, just to name a couple. And every once in a while I'll buy stuff from Bass Pro to get like their fly tying materials and stuff. But this is the flash that I'm going to use on the hex head today, and I'm probably going to use in between, because I start counting these by pieces, you know, because, you know, one strand, I mean, that's one strand of flash. That is good flashy material right there. All right, so my first step is I'm going to figure out how much material I'm going to use. And like I said, this is the flash material I'm going to use. And it doesn't hurt to start off with a little less than usual. Because like when you use your nylon hairs and stuff like that, you'll just grab a bundle, you know, pinch it together and start your wrapping. Well, that's not exactly how I'm going to do this method here. I'm actually going to do these probably 1 to 2 at a time so I can evenly lay them across the jig here. There's a collar that's right here towards the end that allows the jig to have the hairs push out, so it makes a flaring, you know, a flare motion. So it makes the flash flare off the side of it instead of laying right next to the hook. And I like it that way personally. Gives it a lot better look. I'll show you a jig here that I've done. You see how flared out it is? That's what I'm talking about. I love when it flares out like that. I mean, I think that just looks phenomenal. This is just a hex head. Alright guys, so I'm gonna get my little scissors here. I actually got these. These are what I use for rod tying, but they work just as good, and they're really sharp, so they work out great. So I'm just gonna start off with cutting 2 pieces. I'm gonna go all the way up to where there's a little piece of metal that's, there it goes. That little piece of metal right there. I'm gonna go all the way up to that. So I'm gonna take, and I'm just gonna get, you know, right now I'm gonna use 3 strands. So as you'll see, I got 3 separate strands here. With this stuff being thicker, you don't have to really worry about it getting everywhere and being a mess like some of the other flashes. There's other flash boos out there that you can use, and they are just, whew, they're a mess. But before I start wrapping these guys on, I'm gonna go ahead and get myself started here with this, and go ahead and set my vise where I want it. That is a very important thing. Go ahead and set your vise first before you start wrapping. Because once you get into your, wrapping and stuff, it's kind of annoying to take and set the bobbin down, do this, readjust, and then you might loosen your threads up. I don't know, there could be another technique, but as of right now, this is the way that I know how to do it. So I'm going to stick with what's working for me for right now. And until I come up with a better technique or find a different technique that's, a little more accurate, a little better. But basically, I just take and I'll do 1, 2, 3. And as I'm wrapping, you have your tag in here. And I'll just take and pull it to the back towards your hook so it lays flat. And then wrap that tag in up underneath the thread. So that way, when you come back and clip it with your X-Acto scissors, or just any type of scissors, you want to just get as close as possible. This part's really not that important, just for the fact of that's going to be covered up. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But, so like I said, you're just going to wrap it over, and then I'm just going to apply one at a time for this here. So I don't overuse material or, don't waste any material. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves about when I wrap stuff, is I like to save as much material as I can possible. So I'll do a couple of wraps there, and then once I've done a couple of wraps there, then I'll come back and I'll look on the top of my I'll look on the top of here, and I'll line it up with my vise up here at the top. And I'm going to take, and there's a little knuckle that's on my vise, and I always just cut right in the middle of that knuckle for each one. So I'm going to work all the way around this jig. I'm going to get a couple more done for you and then show you as it progresses. Alright guys, so with that one strip that I was just using, I was able to use one strip and get five pieces of skirt to come off the back of my jig. So, as you can see there, the more flash, the better. So, show you how I do my finishing tie when I tie it off. But basically, I'm going to take and pull out slack, lay my 2 fingers against it, so it's going to lay onto the back side of my fingers, rolling my fingers across to where it makes an X, like that. And then with the top end, which is where my middle finger's at, the top end, I'm going to take it and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to stop it at 5. And still my top end is the piece that's going and being laid across each time. So once I've laid it across enough times, then I'll take and I'll pull through. And that allows me to take and clip it off, because now that I have tied it off, it's tight. So now the jig is done and it's tied off. This is how it would look finished and tied off. doesn't really flare as much as I was talking about in the beginning of the video, but there is a little flare there. But this is some difficult, guys. So this is the gloss coat that I'm going to use to put on the jigs. This is what I use to finish it. It's just nice because it's got a nice applicator tip on it, which works out real great for doing real fine work if you're trying to do like fly tying and stuff like that. Here's a shrimp that I did, you know, and it works real good for holding. But with that said, this is what I use, and as I apply it to the jig, I just rotate the vise and go back and forth and just go all the way around the jig. Make sure with this gloss coat that you put this cap back on instantly, as soon as you're done, because if you don't, this crap dries up really quickly. So once you've done that, then you're just going to sit there and rotate your vise for a little bit, just so that way it lays evenly, because it doesn't. So with me rotating it, it's just kind of my own way of making sure that it stays level and even as possible and gives a nice good gloss finish. And that way, you know, you don't lose any of the shine in the thread, because I'm using a flashy thread that I'm using here. So I don't want to lose the flash of the thread. So I'm just going to keep it rotating. That should be long enough to be good, and that's it. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's start to finish. It's not that hard. You just got to sit down and be patient and take your time. The skill will come with the time. You just spend more time sitting here wrapping jigs, and you know, you'll gradually progress. It's nothing you can expect to pick up and do overnight, and if you do, cool, that's awesome. Some people can, some people can't, but just keep practicing. As long as you keep pushing forward, you will eventually have good finished product that you will catch fish on and be very proud of. Alright guys, until next time though, just like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, let me know.